An excerpt from the July 4, 2022 broadcast on ESPN from Coney Island, New York. Courtesy ESPN, a division of the Walt Disney Company and Hearst Communications, under fair use.
We welcome you back to the 2022 Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest presented by Smirnoff. So if eating is the thing, then the talking about those doing the eating is the other thing. It is spectacular. It is mesmerizing. It is MC George Shea doing his thing.
Folks, it is time. It is time. Are you ready to sip from the volcano, to ride the tornado, to make love to the dragon? Are you ready?
True crime.
Sex.
Political conspiracy.
Celebrity gossip.
Murder.
UFOs.
Crooked officials.
The occult. Assassination.
Courtroom drama. Rape.
Corporate scams. Scandal sheets.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scandal Sheet. My name is Thad Housley, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, Eri.
Hey, Thad, how's it going? I'm personally getting ready to celebrate the 4th of July, which now is the third big summer holiday. And I think today's episode is going to be an excellent preview for that.
Right. And as you just suggested, we do have a very special treat for our listeners today. In celebration of our nation's birthday, we're going to take a deep dive into an annual sporting event held every 4th of July, which has been called the most exciting 10 minutes in sports. And that is Nathan's Famous International Hot Dog Eating Contest.
That's right, Thad. And to help us with that, we're joined by not one, but two former judges of the contest. And here they are. We are joined by Handsome Rob from the Upper East Side.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
And we'll do and we're also joined by Jason from Long Island.
Hello, everybody.
Did I say that wrong? Is it like Long Island?
It was actually very good. Long Island.
Long Island. Okay. I stand corrected. Jason from Long Island.
So welcome to both of you. And before we talk about your role as judges in the contest, for the newbies out there, we were hoping you could just sort of kind of back up a little, tell us what the contest is about, what its history, background is, where it takes place, stuff like that. Either one of you or both of you.
I will. By the way, in the talk up, you didn't mention the fact that we are not only we were fellow judges, but also lifelong brothers. So there's that connection.
I didn't know that we could say that, so that's why I didn't put it in. But okay, so you're brothers. Now you're giving a clue to the Twitter maniacs.
Yes, right. have at it.
Okay.
So I will defer to, and again, in the course of this conversation, you'll hear me call him Face, because when we were younger, our dad used to call him JC Facey. And then I figured that as we got older, it was much more mature and, of course, sophisticated to just cut that down to Face. So if anybody out there is like, is there a third person out there, or is Rob just enamored with his own face? No. Well, yes.
Well, I was going to say that he never met a mirror he didn't like, but
yes. That's a long preamble of saying I will turn that over to Face to give you the history.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So according to history, the contest started in 1917 at the Nathan's famous Coney Island, which is located in Brooklyn on the corner of Surf and Stillwell, when I believe that hot dogs were still 5 cents each. And
so that's a restaurant or a deli, right?
Well, Nathan's, there was actually a couple of hot dog places, but Nathan Handworker, Coney Island became a very popular destination and was offering, at the time, 5 cents a hot dog was probably the best and cheapest meal that you can get. So it was primarily a hot dog place, and crazily enough, Nathan's in Coney Island, the original still, they also serve frog's legs, if you can believe that. It's frog legs are on the menu. I've never had frog's legs, but just an interesting fact.
Yeah, we had frog's legs in the Midwest, and they were usually deep fried in batter, So, yeah, you'd always see them at a fair, at a county fair or something like that.
Yeah,
And I think that's really interesting because you think of, like the hot dog as this like all-American food, but you don't think of frog legs as an all-American food. So maybe we should open up the conversation to serving frog legs at baseball games.
Yeah. I have never had. Well, has anybody ever had frog's legs or tried frog's legs?
Well, guess what? They taste just like chicken.
They do. I actually had them as well. So anyway, so then there's that, and then 100 years later, they got the hot dog eating contest up and going. And just a brief history on how Face and I got involved. I had a client at the time who, in addition to his day job, was also doing PR for the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. So knowing of our New York roots, he had asked if I wanted to be a judge, because at the time it was not that big a deal. And then I, of course, asked my brother if he wanted to join as well. And that's what got us into the whole thing. And there's a very interesting story, which of course we'll get to, from that first time that we did it to that last time that we did it.
Okay. Is that, you want to tell that story now, or leave it for later?
Well, I mean, I thought that we could talk about the progression into what started as sort of, I mean, even though everybody knew about it across the country, across the world, Face and I really were there as it grew. And what really, really led to its exponential growth of being a quote unquote big thing to a quote unquote really big thing was when ESPN started airing it. And and we would go, and in 1 year, we noticed the difference between being there and being right in front of the stage and turning around and seeing a nice group of people to turning around and literally you couldn't see. There were hundreds, if not thousands, I don't want to exaggerate, of people as far as the eye could see. Yeah, 40,000. Yeah, 40,000 now on average.
Oh, wow.
And that's on the street. I mean, the contest starts at, I think, high noon, or people get there at 8 o'clock in the morning. It really is just a sea of humanity, and it's really just a wonderful.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So yeah, we'll go back and kind of talk about that that baseline. But so competitive eating as a sports category is a controversial and hotly debated matter, and it's not limited to hot dogs. Just on the 4th of July, it also comprises of like dozens of other items. And so from your perspective as former judges, is this a legitimate athletic event, or is it a joke to market it as an athletic event?
Base? Yeah, so when we first started, I took it as a joke. I mean, a bunch of overweight, for lack of a better word, just slobs. And as the years went by, and we've had conversations with these contestants, and seeing it firsthand and learning more about it, it is a sport. I truly believe that it is a sport. I mean, in terms of the conditioning and the preparation that these athletes go through to prepare, expanding their stomach, eating. Most people believe that they fast, they just they'll just but it's a combination of fasting and eating special foods to expand their stomach. And it's truly the best eaters are the leanest, and physically, they look like athletes. From Kobayashi, which I'm sure we'll get into a little we'll get into later, and the reigning champion, or the GOAT, Joey Chestnut. These people are in great condition, and as well as, not as well as the women, but the women competitors are. It's just amazing what they can do.
And I think, just to add to that real quick, I agree. I think it is truly a sport, and like most, if not every sport, the professionals make it look easy. So I think, you watch on TV and you're like, oh, you eat a bunch of hot dogs. Yeah, so do I. Big deal. But when you look at what they do, and it's interesting, and as a good example, so for example, one year they had we Face, just for fun, entered a matzo ball eating contest in Midtown Manhattan, and these matzo balls were the size of softballs, and you see these guys at these, I'm sorry, not just these guys, these people, women and men, plowing through them. And I say this with all love, Face can eat just like the rest of us, and he struggled to finish one, while the rest of these folks are
Well, if you know anything about matzo balls, there are sinkers and there are floaters. The floaters being the fluffy, the fluffy kind. These had the consistency of
a softball.
And embarrassingly, I think I hardly made it through 2 matzo balls within 10 minutes, and it was at that moment that dreams of becoming a competitive eater were completely shattered. And yes, it was a tough, no pun intended, a tough or matzo ball to swallow. Yeah,
and so that's what helped you gain more respect for the people who you were judging.
They make it look easy. They make it look easy. They make it look like it's not that big a deal, and it really. There are hot dog eating contests that we've brought friends to, and afterwards they're like, I could do this. And they sit down because there are always tons of hot dogs left over, and they eat 3, and they're like, oh my God. And these people eat 60. So, they make it look easy. So the long answer to your short question is, yeah, I absolutely believe it's actually a competitive sport that takes, believe it or not, a lot of skill to be really, really good at.
Do you think that the technical abilities of the competitors also amped up when they started airing it on ESPN? I feel like having it on a sports network and kind of defining it as a sport in the public's eyes might make people who are competitors just more experimental with a lot of their techniques and stuff. Is that did you notice an increase in their abilities after it became a sport on ESPN?
Well, can I jump in on that one, Rob?
Yeah,
because
of course.
I think that really, to answer the question, yes, it definitely brought it to to a much bigger level. But in terms of the competition, a competition drives every athlete, I believe, and really what drove it to the next level was really the competition between Takeru Kobayashi and Joey Chestnut, because when from 1998 till Joey Chestnut came on the scene, there was no other competition, and it was really going back to hot dogs and 4th of July in America, this sport was just purely dominated by the Japanese. And the chance of USA once Joey Chestnut came on the scene, that's really what brought it to the mainstream. And for somebody to be able to eat the record with the standing record of 76 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes, when the former champion was only eating 46, it just took it to a completely different level, like scoring 100 points in a basketball game.
Right.
Going back to, so you had touched upon this before, that like when you guys first started as judges, you told us a little bit about that, but it was more, it had more of a mom and pop feel to it. And then what, I mean, how did the ESPN deal take place? Do you know much about that? When did it start? And then it took everything up to a whole nother level. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I could speak to a part of that question.
Okay.
I don't know if Face even wants to quickly look up when ESPN took over. But what I found that was when we were originally judging, especially there were, you had the big stars, and then you had the majority who weren't. So you had the people who would win, who would eat 60 or 70 and something in that range. And then you had a bunch of, no disrespect to anybody, also rans who ate about 15 to 20 to 25. And what would happen is that we would judge them usually because they wanted.
Yeah, primarily based on the fact that us two brothers were not very good at counting.
Yeah. But
You went to public school?
But yeah, to be fair, we speak gooder than most.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, by the way, you'll add in a laugh track, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So,
Of course.
but then what happened was, so we would watch these people, and then we're interested in what they did. But if we got a couple wrong, if they had 15, and if they ate 15, and we said they ate 17 or 18, they'd be like, yeah, it's all fine, it's all good. But when ESPN kicked in, and then shortly thereafter, if not at the same time, gambling kicked in, where it became legal to benefit. Then there came a level of seriousness about it, where if you made a mistake on one hot dog, you could be talking about thousands of dollars that you're costing somebody. So that tone, where before it was, we were saying it was like a garage band that was just playing for kicks, and now all of a sudden they're
playing stadiums.
All of a sudden we're playing stadiums in front of thousands, and this is no joke. That was the switch in terms of.
I remember thinking to myself one year that if I made a mistake, this could be. This is not just a local story. This could be an international scandal, because also that I think that in terms of the under-over, they also take into consideration the total amount of hot dogs that were eaten by all the contestants, not just individual under-overs. So, a half a hot dog would make a difference. And when we started out, like, as my brother said, if you had a contestant that would say, you only have me at 14 hot dogs, I ate 15, we'd be like, oh, all right, yeah, sure, 15.
I'll take your word for it.
And that was probably I'd say in 1999. Did we start it in 19? And by the way, and this is I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the 20th year that ESPN is now. Okay. Yeah, so 2003, and I think, Rob, we did it from 1999 to 2008. Is that?
Something like that.
We may have missed a year or two in between.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but it was really.
We were going to ask you that, but then why did you leave? Were you forced to leave because ESPN was bringing in celebrity judges, or was it voluntary?
Rob,
because you weren't good at counting?
I was going to say, Rob, I don't know if you wanted to go into the whole point or dog shaving scandal.
Dog shaving.
Yeah. Well, we left because it became, honestly, so big that the little guy, and I hold no resentment. I mean, we did it for a long time, and it was a lot of fun, and it was much appreciated. But I think they were actually raffling off judgeships at that point. So it became part of the corporate process. I think in a way of looking at it in terms of the difference. So, for example, of Woodstock in the 1960s, 69, versus Woodstock 2, brought to you by Pepsi. So that was really the change, and kind of how we got moved out.
It just
Yeah,
got too corporate, huh? So
It
everything,
went
everything
really
was a
corporate.
business model.
Yeah, I mean, it all corporate. I'm sorry. No, and then and a lot of it was also that Nathan's being a franchise, they would bring in their biggest franchisees. It just made sense that, if you owned 20 Nathan's franchises and, wherever, so they were bringing in their biggest franchisees, and it just became corporate.
Right.
Yeah. No resentment though. I mean, it was great of us to be included for as long as we were. It was super nice to have us do it for 1 year. And every year after that, it was just, much appreciated, nothing owed, and, look back on it fondly.
So you were judges, back when it was a mom and pop production. And so what did you do as a judge? Because typically I would think a judge is, somebody who, is like, wow, you ate that hot dog so well or something, instead of like just counting. Because the counting would be like a referee, right?
Yeah.
Or like just a counter. What did you do as a judge?
Well, again, it's kind of simple in the sense that they're given and I don't remember the exact number, but it doesn't really matter for the purpose of this answer. Someone brings out a plate of 20 hot dogs and puts it in front of the competitive eater. When I say hot dogs, I mean hot dogs and buns, because you have to eat the whole thing. When that plate is empty, they had 20 hot dogs. So, sometimes it was difficult to keep track because everybody, believe it or not, had different styles in how they would eat. I know that for me and the majority of the folks that I watched, and I'm glad that this is a video podcast so we can do it, they had to finish everything, and it didn't matter how they did it. All they had to do was just finish it. So what most did is they took the two the two actual hot dogs, eat it typewriter style. So they'd go da, 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 and then they had a cup of fruit juice or water next to them, and they would take the buns, dip it into the cup, because the whole thing, and then just slurp/drink it down. Which one finished the buns, one finished the buns, two finished it quickly, and three helped wash it down. So so in terms of how to count it, 20 hot dogs at the beginning, plate empty at the end, means that you ate 20. If you took a hot dog and threw it behind you, there's probably a pretty good chance we saw you do that. But otherwise, not that difficult.
How many contestants per judge?
One.
Oh, 1-on-1. Okay.
Yeah, 1-on-1.
Which I think actually expanded as it got bigger. I think there may have been 2 judges. Sometimes it was a little haphazard in terms of organization. We never knew who we were going to get. And I just to take a step back, before the contest, we were sworn in. There was an official swearing in ceremony where we had to raise our hand and say, I state your name. And a lot of people said, I state your name. We're involved. And again, going back to the mom and pop days, I mean, to be the judge again, yes, counting was definitely a prerequisite, but also being able to convince your family on the 4th of July weekend that you had to drive from wherever you were all the way into Brooklyn and disrupt whatever plans you had to do this ridiculous at the time thing. That was, probably the hardest aspect. But in terms of cheating, it's very interesting. It's because they do dip the rule is right. You have to eat the entire hot dog and bun, and taking into consideration that they are dipping the buns into the water. I've always thought of, and as it grew, I always thought that maybe they should have counted or looked closer into the cup of water, or look at the scraps, if you will, on the table. But they never took that into consideration. It was always whatever was jammed into your mouth. But I never actually saw a forensic analysis of what was in the cup, or so I guess technically they could, but I don't think it ever came up.
No pun intended.
Yes. Yes, or as the technical term under the International Federation of Competitive Eating, or the IFOCE, or Major League Eating, MLE, throwing up is referred to as a reversal of fortune.
Does that disqualify you?
Oh.
Or just takes points?
You have 10 minutes to hold down whatever you ate. But again, I've come here looking back, in retrospect, they pretty much name the winner right there and then. I don't think I've ever seen an actual waiting period, or like in the PGA when the golfer has to sign off the card and you see them meticulously going over their score before they sign off on it to hand it in. Yeah.
Well, by the way, and just to add to that ever so briefly, I can say that there were a few times, Face, I don't know if there's an actual technical term for it, but when we were judging and you saw a few
gags,
yeah, and then you would, of course, you'd be very close to the stage, and all of a sudden,
well, from what I remember,
And everybody backs up. Yeah, you exit the splash zone.
But from what I remember over the years, you were the one that was making that face, and you weren't even in the competition, Rob.
No, I wasn't. Thank you for added that, right?
Do I have to?
I don't know.
Ellie, you had another question, right, when I interrupted you first?
Well, I was going to ask about the cheating,
okay.
and then are there other ways to cheat? But I guess if that's the only way to cheat, then
yeah. All I can add on to that also then is, again, I feel like there's pre-ESPN gambling and post-ESPN gambling. Like Fake said, there were times where when we went, we didn't know what eater we were going to get, and I got to be honest, I was really nervous that I was going to get one of the top guys. I really, really was. Face, I don't think we ever even discussed that, but when they gave me one of the people that are expected to eat 12 or 14, I was,
the pressure, the pressure became real.
The pressure was real. The pressure was real. I mean, there were thousands of people behind you. I mean, pretend you go to Yankee Stadium. I'm sorry, Shea Stadium, the Citi Field, and you turn around and you see thousands of people. That's what it was when you would just, you would look at these judges, but then you would turn around and take a look, and there were TV cameras and there were reporters from all over the world, and it really, I got a little bit nervous after that, and it really was a little nerve-wracking.
I would also like to think that there's somewhat of an honor system, being the 4th of July, being hot dogs, being Coney Island, Brooklyn, and having all those cameras on you as well is somewhat of a deterrent.
Yeah, like could they do an instant replay?
I think it is.
I would think so, right? Or maybe there would be a magician that was palming, hot dogs, or
Right. Or we could there could be a spin-off, Law and Order Coney Island, where where they just
right, do a forensics test.
Well, what's the relationship? So when I watched on ESPN, I can see those judges with the referee shirts on in front of the stage. Behind each contestant is a girl with a sign, and she's flipping the numbers as they go. Are you connected with them, or do you guys ever get out of sync? How does that work?
No, and I think, Face, keep me honest, but I think that was only with, again, like the top 3.
It's not everybody. Okay.
No, I think it's just the ones that people are really there to see. No disrespect to anybody that's on that stage, but you know who's going to hit the home runs, and who's the the slappy singles hitters at best.
Right. And I think the people on stage were more for the showmanship, because the people who run it, who we have the relationship, they're they're fantastic. And
Yeah.
I had mentioned that, the main person that runs it is really like a latter day PT Barnum. So it's a lot of it is just about the spectacle in general. And before what they don't televise, this, but before the main competition, they have a competition for children in which they have a neat hot dog eating contest. And the winner is the child that eats the hot dog in the most neat fashion, in the most cleanliest fashion. So it's so it's really it really is a lot of America. I mean, besides the protesters, and I know I don't want to vear off, but as a matter of fact, last year,
I forgot to put that in, but you did mention that in the pre-meeting, the protest. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, no, and it dawned on me that, so taking into consideration cheating, gambling, and protesters, last year, Joey Chestnut, who, by the way, I think he had ligament damage and he actually competed on crutches. Somebody stormed the stage. A protester stormed the stage.
Right.
Joey Chestnut put the person was protesting Nathan's pork distributor, and Joey Chestnut put the protester in a headlock in the middle of the competition. And
wow.
The two gambling companies at the time, which I think was DraftKings, and I can't think of the other. I'm not promoting gambling or any competitions. They actually offered refunds to everybody that bet on the under/over because of the protester interrupting the contest, because of their protest over meat. Which is very un-American.
It hurt Joey's numbers by having to take the time to do that, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think last year his under/over, it was either 72.5 or 74. It was 74.5, and he only ate 63. Now, keep in mind, he was injured and he put a protester in a headlock, which again lends itself to the beauty and pageantry and freakishness of the Nathan's 4th of July eating contest.
Wow. So then when Joey Chestnut didn't eat as many hot dogs, I mean, did he still win, or did some
by far?
I mean, he obviously
by far.
Really?
I mean, when I say he's the GOAT, there's just nobody that can touch him. And it's not just in terms of eating hot dogs. He is the Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady wrapped into, an eater. In my opinion, there will be nobody that can come close to what Joey Chestnut has done for the sport of competitive eating.
Now, before Joey Chestnut, there was Takeru Kobayashi. Did I get that right? He was sort of the phenom. Takeru, yeah. So tell us a little bit about him and why did he get out of it and Joey took over? Is it just age?
No, actually, it was a contractual issue. Because if you were signed as an eater, well, it's funny because it somewhat parallels the PGA and LIV, in the sense that, in the sense that if you were signed to the IFOCE, you were pretty much locked into the circuit of what that organization allowed you to compete in, which I think was the Wing Bowl in Philadelphia and the other competitive eating competitions. And keep in mind,
you had to be exclusive. In other words, you had to only work at your sanctioned events. Okay.
Yeah. And, in terms of compensation, there was really nothing, going back to 1998 or 1999. What you won was the mustard yellow belt. I mean, since there there's real money in terms of sponsorship now, but Kobayashi was a hero in Japan and wanted to compete in other competitions and wasn't allowed to do so. And as a matter of fact, when they had this contract dispute, I forgot what year, but Kobayashi actually showed up at the competition in the audience, tried to storm the stage, and was subsequently arrested by the New York, the New York Police Department.
New York's finest.
Yeah. So no, the competition ended because, well, he slowed down. I think there was a point where he realized that there was no way he was just gonna. He just wasn't competitive enough anymore to Joey Chestnut, like nobody has been able to be.
Gotcha.
Then let me include a quick story about how, because Face and I were actually talking about this offline, but and thankfully it's been a little while, but when I was looking for a job and I would submit my resume, you have your experience, and then you have that last paragraph where you put, interests, hobbies. I put Nathan's hot dog eating contest judge on my resume. I am not exaggerating that every single interview, every single person wanted to ask or talk about or discuss that experience being in a hot dog. I mean, I could have put, I was the head of brain surgery at Sloan Kettering, and they would have said to me, "You're a judge?
You're an Nathan's judge? Let's make him an SVP."
Yeah, I mean, it was, and that was actually after that first couple of times, I made it a point to I'd had it down further on the list. I put it higher up on my list of hobbies and interests and made it more prominent because people wanted to have conversations about it. That was unbelievable. So yeah, that ties into it.
You're a sales guy.
And I remember the blowback from when we stopped doing it. No. I remember the blowback from when we stopped doing it. People were so disappointed. They're like, "What do you mean you're not doing this anymore?" It was such a letdown to our friends who were like every year were like,
right,
call me from it, or
That's a good reminder actually, because I think at one point we were kind of like, you know what, been there, done that. It's awesome, but we've done this for 10 years and whatnot. And
right.
Face is right. I forgot about that. People would say, "What, are you kidding me? What, how you can't not do this anymore." We're like, oh, all right, maybe we can.
So do you still watch it every year? Like on the 4th of July, do you still tune into ESPN and watch it?
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
I do. You don't? Oh, I do every year. And actually, it's wherever I am. Usually, I'll if I'm at a barbecue, I'll go inside because a lot of people still know that I did it. So they'll be like, whoever I'm at with the barbecue will be like, come on, let's go. We have to. And what was interesting is I don't belong to any online betting things. Every once in a while I'll bet like the Kentucky Derby or something. But I remember last year at a barbecue, somebody said to me, they were like, what do you think about the under over in terms of gambling? And I was like, well, what's the under over? And they were like 76. And that year in particular, it was last year, it was, besides the fact of the protester, but it was a really hot and humid day. And I'm like, well, I just know from experience that if it's really hot and humid, it kind of slows down the eaters. And I was like, there's no way he's going to do it. And that person was just like, after the fact, he was just like, oh my God, like Jason had a luck. Like he knew, I don't have any insight into anything really when it comes to sports betting. Like if I bet horses, I'll just bet the numbers or the name of the horse. But I realized after the fact that I guess I do. And something to look for this year that I can't remember the last time that I can't remember the last time it rained during the competition.
I can't either. It's always a bright sunny day. So, the sun always shines in Brooklyn, I guess. I don't know.
But it should be interesting if it rains, because you would think that the hot dogs and buns would get soggy. Or
include an awning. They got to put an awning over that.
Should be interesting.
You have to. Yeah, no, you have to.
So are there any, were you guys, when you were judges, were there any big scandals that were associated with the contest that you have any knowledge of, that the expiration has run out?
I think Face touched on that with the protest and Kobayashi, and I think those were
terrorists. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then, right. It was funny because after, not funny, but I remember after September 11th, seeing a really, really heavy police presence on all of the roofs, on all the rooftops. And I'm not going to guess in terms if there were, sharpshooters or anything like that. But I remember looking around, and because, after it could present itself as a pretty high profile target.
I mean, the symbolism of America on, on its biggest day of independence, on the national stage where everybody is looking. Yeah. That's another good that's a good reminder. I forgot about that.
Yeah. With hundreds of media cameras from all over the world. Yeah. It's truly an international event. And then there was one year where I think where they had the William the Refrigerator Perry, who was a big deal from the Chicago Bears. He entered the competition, but I think he was him and his entourage, I think they were expecting much more of a red carpet treatment in terms of where he was on the stage and what he was expected. And I think he wound up eating like 4 hot dogs in protest. They were just like, I'm out of here.
Which circles back to what we said, though, where it's not, no matter how big you are, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. I remember Face was talking to one of the competitive eaters one of the years, and there was a big tent where everybody would hang out, and Face saw him eating a whole bunch of hot dogs. So Face went over to me like, "What? Are you not competing? What are you doing?" And he told him, which is fascinating when you think about it. He said, "What happens is that I want to eat because when you eat, your stomach expands, and it makes it larger, as opposed to when you don't eat and your stomach contracts and it's smaller and you can't eat as many hot dogs." I said, that's fascinating. That's really interesting in terms of, again, how they approach it. And again, I guess touching on an earlier point of how there is a method to the madness and a scientific way to approach your game, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
How long do they train for this Nathan's hot dog eating contest? Like, I mean, is it like months of training, and then do they have a little bit of like an off season?
Well, Face, keep me honest, but I think there's a lot of regional contests. So it's kind of like one of those things where, again, to use Major League Baseball as the example, and there's the playoffs where you have to earn your way to to move along. So there's the Long Island regional hot dog, and you do really well there, and then you build a name for yourself, and then you go to the Ben's Kosher Deli matzo ball contest, and you work your way up. But as you're working your way up, you're also quote unquote training. It's like doing a bunch of marathons, half marathons and mini marathons as you work your way up to the big New York City marathon.
Yeah. Yeah, according to Wikipedia, they're that international organization you mentioned, Jason, they have 50 sanctioned events a year.
Yep.
So that's a lot.
Yeah.
No, it is a lot, but I think leading up, like, this is the Super Bowl.
This is the Super Bowl. Okay.
This is the Super Bowl. So I think,
so
leading
you got to
up,
qualify, right? It is like the Boston Marathon. You can't just walk in. You've got to at least run the Boston Marathon. You've got to qualify.
Yeah, unless you're Rosie Ruiz and you take the subway halfway there. You're aware that the Rosie Ruiz, she won the Boston Marathon one year. They have, spotters along the way, and she disappeared for a long length of time. She took the subway and won it's pretty unbelievable, Rosie Ruiz. And when they interviewed her, at the finish line, they were like, can you tell us about your training and your intervals? And she's like, what's an interval? And they're like, the cameraman's like, well, this is not really official. But we've never heard of you before. We're gonna have to get back to you on these results here. And it's really pretty awesome. But
how you did it, LA? Did you?
Well, we'll have to cover that in a future
did
episode.
You just take the train in from where's the starting point?
No, that's geez, right around mile like 24. That's always when I'm like, yeah, shoot, I'm gonna do or taking a train or something.
But I think the week leading up to it.
We'll have to cover that scandal here at some point.
But I think the week leading up to it, I know they drink a lot of milk. I know that they eat a lot of oatmeal. And I think the week before, I mean, just in terms of physical and the mental preparation, because they're hyped up. This is,
prime time.
It's prime time.
It's Super Bowl.
Awesome. Yeah. Is there anything else you guys think we missed that you want to mention?
The women.
Oh yeah, why don't you talk about the women, the top stars?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, so yeah, for a while you had Sonia the Black Widow Thomas, who was the reigning champion, who again, speaking of physical characteristics, just thin and athletic. And the reigning champion, Miki Sudo. I mean, it's just it's just amazing. I think her record is 46 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes, and just eating 76 hot dogs and buns. I think it weighs 16 pounds, or it's like the equivalent of like 46 cue balls in pool. I mean, so just think about, just the amount of food that's going in. But I mean, as a matter of fact, I think in terms of consumption of hot dogs, the women, Mickey, she's coming in second only to Joey Chestnut, which is really, it's really phenomenal. It's just amazing.
What I always think about when they're done is just in terms of the blood pressure. When you think of the amount of salt that they have consumed in those hot dogs, you talk about like the steam coming out of the top of the head. Oh my good Lord, jeez!
They need like a detox, or something.
Just
when the contest is over, and assuming nobody has lost it. Do they evacuate their stomachs afterwards?
I've seen some people go and have a couple of hot dogs after the contest. I've seen some of the competitors. I really have. I've seen them eat.
Wow!
What are you kidding me?
Yeah.
These people like to eat. They're really good at it. They're really, really good at it.
I wonder if there's a measurement of how many hot dogs eaten as a percentage of your body mass. Is that any calculation that people pay attention to?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Joey Chestnut is over 6 feet. I mean, he is a bigger guy, but like you were talking about the girls. And then one year, Joey Chestnut's unbroken record, he was beat by this very petite man, Matt Stoney.
Right.
To beat him. It was like 2015 or something like that. But, and it was like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, because the guy was like 5'4" or something like that.
Yeah, that's it's funny because and now that you mention it, I think Chestnut at the time was going for his 9th consecutive victory, and I have to go and look back at that because I still find it remarkable that somebody beat him. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And then what happened to Matt Stoney? Did he ever come back? I mean, is he still there was that just a one night stand for him?
I don't know if that was during the steroid era. It might have, I think it might have been like the Jose Canseco, and that's why you don't hear of him. I'm joking, and it's, but yeah, you're gonna have the laugh track, right? You're gonna help him out.
We've got a laugh track,
or you can throw crickets in there just as well,
or raspberries.
They can't all land.
Okay, Ellen, you got anything else?
No, I was just going to say, actually, my phone is at about 5% battery here. So if you lose me, that's why.
Okay, so there we go. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We really appreciate your time and sharing all of this amazing history about the contest. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Handsome Rob from the Upper East Side and Jason from Long Island. Judges at
Thanks, everyone.
Please follow or subscribe to Scandal Sheet on your favorite pod platform and share it with all your friends. We'd also love it if you'd leave us a shameless, over-the-top rave review on Apple Podcasts especially. That helps us build audience. And we would really appreciate it if you could support us on Patreon, where you can enjoy premium bonus content for less than the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Just go to patreon.com/scandalship. Also, we want to hear from you. You can reach us online at Facebook or X, formerly Twitter, LinkedIn, or TikTok. Or just send us an email to scandalsheetpod@gmail.com. See you next time on Scandal Sheet!
Copyright 2026 Thad Helsley Media, LLC, all rights reserved. Thad Helsley Media produces not only podcasts for clients, but also custom videos, animations, and explainers for businesses, nonprofits, government, authors, and literally anyone that has a message or cause they want to promote. Contact us at any of the numbers in the liner notes. Thank you for your support.